Oh, hello there. So you want to talk about accessing native platform APIs in .NET MAUI? Well, don't worry. There's several ways of doing it, including using some of the built-in APIs that have already been abstracted into a single beautiful API to do things like access connectivity, geolocation, device sensors, and so much more. But sometimes you might need to go a little bit further, and that's when you need to tap into those native APIs of each platform to do something really special. Now, there's all sorts of different APIs, and you have access to them from C#, but there's certain ways you may want to architect your code to make it work even better with dependency injection, or if you want to, just use conditional compilation. And today, we're going to break down everything you need to know about accessing those native APIs in .NET MAUI. So tune in. Hey everyone, I'm James, and today we are talking about one of the most important parts of creating native cross-platform applications for iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows, which is not only creating those app bundles and packages at the end of the day that you're going to deploy to the App Store, but tapping directly in to some of those APIs that are so essential that make those different operating systems a delight to use and can really unlock different capabilities for your application to expose to your users. For example, I use Bluetooth and connectivity and a bunch of device sensors in my Cadence application that connects to Bluetooth sensors and show you how fast you're running, which is really, really cool. Now, there's tons of APIs that are even just on a single platform. So for example, things like ARKit or iMessage kits, those message kits and all those those crazy things that are happening on the different platforms. You may want to add platform-specific functionality just to your iOS application is a good example. So there's different ways of thinking about how to do this and how to use some of the built-in dependency injection and how to architect the code to make it even better. So let's check it out. Now, first things first, let's talk about some different ways of accessing some platform APIs. If you go to the .NET MAUI documentation under platform integration, there's a bunch of good stuff over here. Specifically, there's things about invoking platform code, which we're going to talk about today, but also configuring multi-targeting for shared projects. But you can look at all of these different device features that are built in automatically into .NET MAUI. If you go into Overview, you can take a look here. Things like App Actions, App Info, Launcher, Main Thread, Opening Maps, Permissions, which we've talked about before, Version Tracking, Networking, Phone Dialer, SMS, battery, device display, flashlight, geolocation, vibration, text-to-speech, clipboard, file pickers, all this stuff. It's all in there automatically for you. Now, just because the API is in there doesn't mean that all of the functionality is exposed. And that is because the team has done their best to abstract these API into a single API for you to use. However, if you need to tap into some specific things that aren't in there, there might be a library already today on NuGet available. If you head over to awesome.net MAUI on Javier's GitHub, you can actually browse through tons of samples over here, which are cool, workshop, tools, UI kits that are available, and tons of plugins too. So there's tons of stuff in here. So for in-app billing, for example, that's from me. You can actually take a look at that and see, hey, this has been updated, and here's how I can do in-app billing purchases. It's already available, right? You don't need to write the platform-specific code because someone's already done it for you, either the .NET MAUI team or some amazing community members out there. So let's first look at the platform integration. Let's say we did want to go in and access some of these things. For example, let's look at networking, connectivity, right? Here what we'll see is that inside the documentation, there might be a little bit of setup code required on the different platforms, which is nice. Here on Android, you need to at least have the access network state. And then down here, it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do to check connectivity. So let's just literally copy this and put it into our code. So let's go into my application. I have a simple dependency injection sample I've been using a lot. And let's go ahead and create another method down here. So under our permission check, let's do a relay command. There we go. I'm going to say, this will be a task, and I'll say check internet. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in there. So if you have internet, we're totally good to go. Else we'll say we don't have internet. So let's go ahead and do this, and let's do a pop-up. So I'll say await, shell.current.displayAlert, and I'll say you have internet. Yay. And I'll say congrats. That's pretty good. And I'll say okay. Else, let's just go ahead and then display the current status here. So instead of saying you have internet, you say check internet. And then here I'm going to go ahead and say access type, and I can say okay. I'll say current status. There we go. Perfect. All right, so what's happening here? Well, first and foremost, what we want to double check here is that it's coming from the connectivity API. And this is inside of Microsoft MAUI networking. So if I came in and I say Microsoft.MAUI. There's a bunch of things like accessibility, application model that has things such as app actions, app info, app theme, app browser, all sorts of different things in here. Data transfer, all these different things, which is really, really cool. And what that is going to do by default is access the current singleton of connectivity. So that's one thing that's going to happen automatically for us. And we can see that it's implementing iConnectivity. So this is one way of doing this. So if I came in and added a breakpoint here and just launch it on my Android emulator, we're probably going to actually need to add a button to go ahead and check internet. So let's go into our main page over here. All right. And let's go down to the bottom and I'll say check internet. Check internet. This will be check internet command that was created for us automatically. And just like that, we've added another button. And now we're going to go ahead and see this light up on our Android device. And again, this is just handling singletons for us automatically. And this relay command is coming from the .NET Community Toolkit for MVVM, which I've done a video about up over here before. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's give our application a second here to compile up and then redeploy. All right, our application is loading up. And what we'll go ahead and see is that we should have that check internet button available after hot reload initializes. There we go. And I'm going to say check internet. And sure enough, our access type is internet, which is quite cool. Now there's other things on this singleton. So we can see things like connectivity profiles. I could also register to see what kind of, when things change as well. So that's an option. And here what we're going to do is see a pop-up that I totally have internet. That's great. So now you're probably saying, James, well, I don't want to just use that singleton that's just around. How do I register that with my dependency injection service? Well, it is iConnectivity. So what's nice about that is we can go into our MAUI program. And this is where we have all of our pages all registered already. So we have our view models, our pages here, and we can register a new singleton. So I'm going to say builder dot and then services dot add singleton. Now here, this is going to be iConnectivity, which is nice. And I have two options that I can pass in. The first thing I can do is just pass in an implementation. The other thing is I can pass in an implementation factory. So if I just do connectivity.current, that's going to go ahead and do it and automatically register everything that I need. Now, if you have read Jonathan Pepper's amazing blog post on performance, you know that you actually may want to pass in a little function here to create it on demand. So this is also a nice way of doing this. It kind of lazily loads that up automatically for us. So definitely take a look at that blog post, which I'll link below. So now what we need to do is go back to our main view model, and up top in our constructor, I'm going to pass in iConnectivity and say connectivity. And then we'll just use it back here as well. So here I'm just going to go ahead and copy this in just like this. Then I'll say this.connectivity equals connectivity. And now what I can do below is instead of using the connectivity.current, I'll say connectivity, just like that. So that's really nice when you want to use dependency injection that's built into .NET MAUI. And of course, that's now going to be unit testable as well if you want to inject your own iConnectivity when you're doing unit tests, for example, there. Okay, so now our application is loaded up again, and I can add a breakpoint here, just like this. Let's go ahead and do check internet. And sure enough, I still have my connectivity implementation and my network access is internet, and we're totally good to go. Awesome. So that's really, really nice. So now we are using those built-in APIs of .NET MAUI to access platform-specific capabilities, and there's tons of stuff built in. But what happens when you want to access things that aren't exposed through .NET MAUI's API? You want to tap into iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows specific code. Can you do that? Yes, you can do that. Of course, there's great libraries that do a bunch of this stuff out there, but what if you want to just write it yourself? You can do that, which is cool. So let's talk about how we would go ahead and implement that into this application. So let's head back over. So instead of doing this display alert, let's say I wanted to do a little toast pop-up, specifically on Android, there's nice little toasts that pop up. So especially if you have internet, maybe I don't want to display an alert, I just want to do some toast. Well, there's a few ways that I could do that. The first thing to remember is that .NET MAUI applications are multi-targeted, which means that I have access to Android-specific APIs. In fact, if I choose a different target here, I'm going to have access to those APIs. So if I was to say toast, we can see that it's in the Android.widget namespace. So if I say toast dot make text, I could then give it an Android context. I could give it a string to display and the toast length as well. Now, the cool thing here is that the context is actually on a built-in API called application-model.platform.current activity. And then additionally, I could say internet I have, and then I could say toast duration, or toast length, I should say, dot long. And then I'll say dot show, just like that. So here, that's one way of just accessing that capability. Now, this is going to work all right, except for if we scroll up, there's this Android widget, which again is going to work fine until I try to go to Windows over here. And now we can see Android's not there because I'm trying to access Android APIs and share code. So there's two ways to get around this. One is I could come in and say if, and use a conditional compilation and say if Android and if, only bring in that namespace. And the same thing down here, I'd also have to say if Android, then do this, and if there. And you can see if I do if, there's things like Windows, iOS, you can check platform version numbers ahead of time, things like that, which is really, really cool. So here, this is going to be a blanket statement for anything Android. Now this will compile up and it'll be super happy because if I flip back to Android, Visual Studio knows to light up that specific capabilities. So I can go ahead and run this again, and it's going to be super happy and everything's great at the end of the day for my toast pop-up. So here we go. Our application is booting up and loading for us. And now since I do have internet, we're going to see a toast that automatically gets hit. In fact, I'll add a breakpoint here, pull it back up, check internet. Sure enough, toast. And there's my little toast. Internet I have down there, right? So that's cool. So if you're in a pinch and you need to spice up a little bit of platform code, you can totally do that. That's probably not exactly how you want to do it because that's not unit testable. And of course, you got to do these conditional compilations. So let's go ahead and remove this code. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. And I'm going to go ahead and move this here. So again, we're going to keep our view models clean. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my helpers class and I'm going to say add new item. And in this case, we're going to add an interface into my code. You don't have to have an interface technically, but we're going to create one just because. And what we're going to do over here is I'm going to say I toast as an option. So I toast. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and clean this up. So we're going to remove this stuff. There we go. And let's just go ahead and give it a void. And I'll say make toast. And I'll say string message. So very simple. One little interface method to implement. So now what I'm going to do is I could, for example, just say if Android and write the Android code here. That's actually kind of cool in a way, and implement iToast. So if I wanted to and say if Android here, I could say and if, and then I could say, public class toaster for example, I toast, and then pull this code in just like that. Oh, sorry, we'll go ahead and implement this. There we go. Implement the interface and go ahead and put it in there. And like that would totally work, right? And again, I'd have to do some conditional compilation, say, and if Android and if, and sure enough, that would totally be valid there. The other thing I could do at this point is I could say else, and then I could say public class toaster. Again, I toast here, and I can say if I'm on like iOS, for example, let's just go ahead and implement this here. There we go. And then not throw anything, just say don't do anything on the other platforms. I say end if. And now we've basically implemented a toaster on our single class here. So that's actually kind of cool. So here I have everything inside of one source file. It's kind of nice and easy, especially if it's really simple. You keep it all together and it's still unit testable, right? Technically, we have all this all here. And I can now go into my MAUI program. And again, I could then say builder.services.add singleton. There we go. And I'm going to say I toaster, or I toast, I should say. And then here, I'm going to say E, and I'll just say new toaster. There we go, just like that. So now with this, we could go back into our main view model, and now I'll say, you guessed it, I toast, and I'll say toast. And then here, I toast, perfect. There we go, our main view model, toast and toast. Cool. Now this is going to be a little upset at me because I toast isn't public. So let's go ahead and make this public over here just for good measure. There we go. Awesome. And now what I can do is instead of going off and doing that pop-up, I can say toast dot make toast, and I'll say you have internet. Cool. That's kind of cool, right? So everything's in this class. We can have our iToast. We can go ahead and see here that I am going to run this on Android. So this should be called automatically for me. And again, all the other things will compile for me. And then it is, relatively unit testable at the end of the day, because I am passing in this toaster here, which is kind of nice. So it's kind of cool. All right, here we go. So our application's running up. Check internet, making toast. And sure enough, toast is displayed on the page. Internet I have. Perfect. Okay, but then you're saying, James, maybe I don't want it in one single file. What do I do? Okay. So here's what I'd probably actually do is instead of having this conditional compilation, what I would do is I would take this toaster class and I would come in to my Android folder inside of platforms. And this is where I can access Android specific code. Here I would say, give me a new class. I'm going to say toaster. There we go. And you guessed it. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, do this here. And now we have this nice little toaster here. All right. So use my Maui.helpers and we're totally good to go. Okay. Now, of course, that's not going to be available on the other platforms. So what I'm going to need to do is take this toaster class and put it in the different platforms. So I could just, leave it there and it'd be available, but probably I'm going to implement this into the other places. So I'm going to say toaster here. Again, we're going to come in here, paste this in. It's not going to do anything right now, which is fine. And then we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And you guessed it, we're literally going to copy and paste this toaster around into my other things. So here, this would be obviously Mac Catalyst, and then this one here would be Windows, and the same would be true for Windows if you're doing it, or for Tizen if you're doing Tizen 2. So now what this means is inside my iToast, it's nice and clean, right? Just an interface, nothing special. That interface can live anywhere. If we go back into my MAUI program, well, now we have a problem, right? Because actually our toaster lives in a bunch of different things. It lives in MAUI app.di.platform. So you're like, oh, what do I got to do? Do I got to come in and then, return a new toaster, but then, only technically on one of the platforms. So then I got to say like, if Android else, and then I got to, do a long one like this, and I got to go through all of them. That seems not great, James. True. So that's where namespaces come in, to be honest with you. So instead of having to do conditional compilation, we want to keep this toaster here. We want to new it up. So how do we make sure that these are available everywhere? Well, if you remember back in our toaster classes inside of Android and iOS, this thing has created a namespace called MAUI app.di.platforms.android. So what if I just did MAUI app.di.platform implementations, for example? And what if I use that exact same namespace in all of them, right? This kind of makes sense. I have the same exact namespace everywhere. Now, when I go and do a quick reformat, I just have to bring in that one namespace, which is my platform implementations. So if you keep the namespaces the same, remember that code all gets compiled up. So if I toggle now to iOS and I go and I right click and go to definition, I'm inside my iOS application. If I go back over into my MAUI program and I switch that to Windows, sure enough, I'm over on Windows. You know what I mean? So that's actually really, really cool. So as long as you just kind of keep this naming convention the same, keep your different namespaces correct and implement them there, you're going to be totally good to go. So let's run this one more time. And now my source code is going to live inside of my Android platform source code here, just like this. I can go ahead and check internet, which again, I still should have internet over here. Check internet. Sure enough, it's there and we can continue on, and I totally have internet and we're really good to go. Whew, we did it. Okay. So that is almost the last way of doing it, to be honest with you. So that's one way of doing it inside of your application model. Now in another video, what I'm going to be doing is talking about how to create reusable libraries that you can package up into NuGets. So stick around. Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. So when I put out new videos here on my channel, you can see exactly what we're talking about here. This one's gone a little bit too long, but I hope that you've enjoyed. And if you had, hit that like button down there. That actually helps the YouTube algorithm and recommends the video to other people. But hopefully you found this insightful. Not only can you just access platform APIs from .NET MAUI because they already have a bunch of APIs for you, you can access them through conditional compilation. And of course, you can use the built-in dependency injection service and access code in those platform folders or through those different conditional compilation. Lots of ways of doing it. What's right? Well, it's up to you. It's your application. I have many ways that I like to do it. You can do it with an interface, without an interface, in the source code, without the source code. It's up to you. Like, it's totally up to you. And this is the method that I like, kind of this last one here of sort of putting it in each folder, but that's a James thing. Let me know what you think. Are there other ways that you're sharing code across your applications? Leave comments below. And of course, if you have a favorite library that's out there, I'd love to hear about it, do a video on it. So leave comments below as well. Anyways, again, I hope that you really enjoy this video. Hopefully you give it a thumbs up down there. What other topics do you want to hear? Let me know. I love to make some additional content on them. Really appreciate it. I hope that you have the most amazing day ever. Thanks for watching.